course, you can join. It's free to join. It's just on Instagram. You click on my channel and join in. The last few days, I've gotten more. I get this question a lot, but I got it a fuck ton over the weekend, like a lot. A noticeable amount is, what's the key to your success? And so I'm gonna drop these videos. Some of the questions are, what would you say made the biggest difference for you early on? If I had to pinpoint it on what made the biggest difference for me early on, it would be what made the biggest difference for me early on. An uncanny, big, unforgiving belief in myself is what made the biggest difference for me early on. Is I truly believed, looking at other successful people, that I can do what they did. I didn't really have much room between me and other successful people to be like, oh, well, he's special, he got lucky. That vocabulary didn't really exist when I was starting to chase success in my early days. I just looked at them and said, okay, how do I do that? What did they do that I can also do? And that mindset helped me a lot. What was one of the hardest no's you received that motivated you to do more and took action on it? So my story is this. I grew up with the word no. My upbringing, I had a familial situation where I was very sheltered and I was constantly told the word no, I can't. And so for me, my response to that at a younger age and going forward was like, you're not going to tell me no. And so I just learned because I was a kid and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I figured out ways to do what I wanted to do because other friends and people were doing stuff, and I could tell that I was overly sheltered to the point of honestly abuse. And I was like, okay, well, how do I do what I want to do? And so carrying that into my adult life, it led to rebellion. So I did a lot of partying and a lot of drugs, and it really messed my life up. And then getting my life together, it carried into my business life and my sales life where I hear the word no, but it doesn't mean it's a dead end for me. And I think a lot of people forget that everything's negotiable in life. That's why you go to court. That's why you can call these big corporations and get your bill down or make a deal on a car or what have you. Everything's negotiable. And I learned that at a very young age. And so I've carried that with me. So when I hear the word no, I'm like, okay, great. This is a good starting point. Let's keep talking. It's not a closed door. So to kind of rehash that question, what no? I mean, in business, none of the big buyers wanted to mess with my company. We were too new, too young, too whatever, right? And I guess a lot of people could get demotivated, but for me, I was like, okay, so I'm going to get their attention, so I'm going to sell to all their clients and sell around them. And then there was, ironically, another brand with a similar name on the East Coast, almost identical name, and it caused a lot of tension in my small company. And I just told them the same thing. I'm like, cool, outsell them. And eventually, what happened is you take a few years of doing that, and that company dies, and these big buyers all of a sudden want to buy from you, and things start happening. But people think it looks like it happened overnight, but in reality, it took 2, 3, 4 years. So I get this question a lot. What would you do if you were 17 starting over again? It's tough. It's tough because I wouldn't change one thing, and people like to pose an argument to that because of the knowledge I have today. But I believe what I went through made me the man I am today, and I wouldn't change it. I'm grateful for where I'm at in life, the hardships and the wins. But I understand where this question is going. They're probably around that age and want to know what they should do. And so, regardless of who I talk to, like the thing is, you need to learn how to sell. Hands down, you need to learn how to sell. So go get a high pressure, high rejection sales job. It's the only way that you're going to build a thick skin, in my opinion. And when you get into business, you're going to need that thick skin because a lot of days you're looking at a wall, watching the paint dry, feeling like your skin's on fire. Like it's just, you're looking into an abyss. Like how the am I going to pull this off? And you need to have a thick skin, a strong mind. And there's no better way than going into a job that's high pressure that you're going to get a ton of rejection all day. Nothing builds a better thick skin. What motivates you to get through those days, weeks where you just don't feel like you're making any progress? Yeah, so it's easy to get demotivated. I get demotivated all the time. I just don't show it, or I just kind of deal with it. And the question is, well, how do you deal with it, right? So I just kind of put my feelings and demotivation and just fear on the side, because fear or these feelings tend to be not true. It's just how I feel in that moment, in that week, in that day, and I can't take that as reality. So I'll look at the last 6 months and see what I have accomplished. I'll set out goals for what I want to accomplish today, this week, and I'll break down my big goals into minor goals so I can accomplish things on a daily, hourly, or weekly basis. And the most important thing, and I see a lot of people do this, is we get demotivated or we get stressed or it's just not good enough. When in reality it is, because a lot of people, they can see it before you can, but they kind of stop. They kind of stop doing the things that was making them progress. They kind of stop taking those actions, and that's not a good place to be. You have to keep taking action. You have to keep putting in footwork, because I'll tell you this, here's the key. I would rather fail than do nothing. Because at least in failure, I can learn a lesson and grow from that, but doing nothing, I'm stuck, and I don't want to be stuck. Does anyone really care if you become successful by doing shady stuff in your past? At what point does it become all or nothing? So I would like more clarity on this question, because it depends on what shadiness. Like, if you have a very like sinister, hurt kids type of past, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty bad. But for me, my story is, I've been arrested for drugs. I've been a convicted felon, and in reality, no. I mean, I was able to turn my life around. I was able to show people I'm employable. I was able to move up in management positions, and so it's kind of motivating, right? Where you have a guy that, like myself, that was homeless and had a f***ed up life and made really bad decisions. Didn't really hurt anybody, mainly hurt myself. And those people that I did hurt, I've gone and made amends to them and paid them back or what have you. And now kind of like a rise from the ashes story. So in a lot of ways, if you do have a checkered past, it can be a huge benefit to motivate others and build your business, because people love an underdog, man. And I am an underdog. By all accounts, like running a successful business in general is tough, but running a successful business and being successful after having a hard life is a huge win, and people like that story. So I would say, don't let your past define you. Yes, learn from your past and use it as lessons and help it build character. But being like, oh, like I'm an ex-con or this or that is a story you tell yourself of why you can't get somewhere, and it's not really defining of what's in the future. So focus on what you're doing today to be a better man tomorrow. I've fed mouths that have talked shit about me. I've picked people up that have tried to knock me down. I've answered phone calls from people that won't return mine. And through all that hate, and through all the bullshit, I'm still going to be me, regardless. I'm still going to be here, still going to be grinding. I think part of the battle is trying to remain positive. And so I get that question a lot too, is, how have you been so successful, but how have you remained positive? And look, this last year, 2025, has been one of the hardest years for me in business in the last 12 years. I like to call there's dark times in business. They always lead to light, but this was definitely a dark year. And if you look at my Instagram or you talk to me, I never really let on that it was dark, because I choose to remain optimistic. In the hard times, I look at the silver lining in things. I look at the lessons. I look at what can teach me and make me a better business person, a better man, a better friend, a better dad. And I take these things seriously, like what can I learn from the situation and what will the future bring that is better? And so when you live your life like that, what ends up happening is you can overcome all sorts of challenges. Nothing is permanent. There's no mistake. There is no big issue. You have challenges. And so you need to overcome these challenges, because you can overcome anything. You just need the right mindset. Think about this. Whatever you're going through right now, today, once you make it past that, there's always the next thing. And once you make it past that, there's the next thing, and make it past that, that's the next thing. That's life. It's a variation of things you have to get past. But when you think about stuff that's so detrimental, and you realize that these things keep coming at you, you have an understanding of, okay, well, this is just life. This is what happens. Life is hard, and how I look at it, how I perceive it, will change my reaction to things. And so start looking at these things as lessons, as things that build your character, that build your business, build your career, build you, and look at them as opportunities to, I don't know, maybe grow. And so each time that I've had an instance where I have a challenge or something that I have to build past or I have to get past or whatever, I look at it as, okay, What's the lesson I'm going to learn from this? And how I'm going to be better next time? Because you don't have to tell me things twice. I have a situation going on right now that's been, man, back and forth, back and forth. And in a way, it's almost good that this is going to come to pass. It's a very big amount of money. And it's good because you're never going to catch me slipping again. And so I look at it like that instead of, oh, my life is over, it's done. How am I gonna do this? Bro, you're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Sometimes the only way out is through. And what you have to realize is we can kick and scream and we can argue and we can fight with ourselves and cry and all this, but in reality, the thing is coming. Whatever it is right now, you're probably thinking about it. The thing you're trying to make it past, the level up, the thing holding you back, whatever. You're thinking about it right now. And you're going to get past it. Think about it. All the things in life that you've made it past or have done, they come at you regardless. You can shut yourself out, you can hide, but they come, man, and they come to pass. And so what I like to think of is, how am I going to be a good leader? How am I going to be a good example? How am I going to show people? How am I going to learn? How am I going to teach from this? And then I go past it, because I'll tell you this. I have exerted 100% plus fighting something, not wanting something to happen, trying to control something, but I spent 10%, so 9 times less energy on saying, okay, I'm in acceptance of this. This is a good lesson. How do I build from this? How do I become a better person from this? And that's the perspective you should be taking. Hey, Chris, how do I become successful? It's a question I get a lot, more often than any other question. And so for me, here's like the simplest way to put it. Your job, your career path right now. Are you trading time for money? And here's the distinction. If you're specialized, like you have a trade, electrician, plumber, etc., if you went to school to be a lawyer, doctor, those sorts of things, they make sense. You can have your earned income and turn it and invest it into passive income because you're specialized. But if you have a job where you're doing whatever, driving a truck, doing oil changes, what have you, there's only one you. So trading your time for money, there's only so high you can go. This is why I recommend, regardless of what age you are, to go get a sales job. Go get a sales job. Go get a sales job right now, because now you're going to begin to make money regardless of the time you put in. You're no longer constrained by, okay, I punched a clock. Now you're selling products or items that you can sell thousands of. You can be the dictator of your future. That's how I got started. I was punching a clock, working at a restaurant, and I fell into a sales job, and I realized that, oh, I can get on the phone today and make 10, 20 grand, as opposed to I was just trying to work that clock as hard as I can. It's important because I was able to move from a big corporation that gave me 10 cents every 6 months raise to a place where is small business America or medium business America, where I got to see how a private company operates. I got to see how to make money in sales. I got to learn how to do sales, which grew me into the business leader that I am today, and why sales is my backbone. Also, you got to deal with rejection. You got to deal with people. You got to deal with overcoming objections. A lot of the stuff you have to deal with a business. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be fights. There's going to be people. There's going to be issues, and you need to have thick skin. So my advice right now, and you're probably going to think, okay, I don't want to do that, or it's hard, or I'm not a salesperson. Dude, I was not a salesperson, like at all. I couldn't talk well. I couldn't enunciate my words. I mumbled. I talked too fast. I couldn't voice inflect. And at the end of the day, I taught myself. Because if you want to be successful in life, the hardest thing that you're going to have to do is rebuild yourself into the version of you that will lead a successful business. So making excuses like, oh, it's not really for me, or not, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You're already saying no. How are you going to be successful? You're already saying no. And us successful people, I don't say no. I don't say no very often. They say pressure makes diamonds. So for me, I have to watch my management style with all my employees, because I can deal with immense amount of pressure, like ungodly amounts of pressure. I don't really disclose the pressure that I'm under, not because I'm hiding it, just because I think if I were to share the level of pressures that I undergo on a weekly, yearly basis, especially this year, people would be like, are you okay? So what does that mean? Different people require different motivations. So I've used my management style in the beginning on my staff, where I utilized how I like to be managed with mass amounts of pressure, and I've actually broken people. And so I had to realize that I had to take a step back and manage people differently and change my management style. But for me, how do I remain optimistic? How do I deal with pressure? I don't know, man. I had to get myself to it kind of goes back to my upbringing. Like I had a lot of pressure, a lot of volatility, a lot of drama, a lot of fucking just bullshit in my upbringing. Like I had to deal with a lot of shit kids should not have to deal with. So if that's not your story and you still have the question of, well, okay, well, how do I learn that? I don't know how to teach it, but if I were to put it in words, I just got okay with being not okay, which basically means for me, and my therapist says it's not very healthy, but what successful person do you know that actually has balance? But for me, if I am unstressed, I get stressed. So I'll repeat that. If I have no stress going on, I get stressed. It wasn't until recently that I learned how to compartmentalize even better, meaning that my kid is really what helped me having a child. So now I can go home and like I can disconnect from the stress and just hang out with my kid and be present. Kind of hard not to be present with a 4-year-old because they're very present and they want to do certain things on their own timeline and we're always go go go. But I've been able to like leave work at work. It doesn't mean that I stop working. If I'm up and I'm breathing, I'm working, my phone's on, but there are certain times where I take my kid to do something, my son, that I don't want to deal with work for 30 minutes an hour, and I kind of turn it off because I want to give him the time like I give all my businesses time. So pressure, massive amounts of pressure. It's been said that the most successful people have been able to maintain a positive outlook for long periods of time dealing with massive amounts of pressure. And so I don't know, like everybody has their own coping mechanisms, but I just have realized that I'll put it simply. You want to be successful, you want to be rich, learn to deal with pressure. The amount of pressure that you can handle will determine the amount of money that you can make. The people that are making the most have ungodly amounts of pressure. You know how they say more money, more problems? It's 100% true. And I don't get on my mic and, be a crybaby and all that because I am successful and you guys don't want to hear that. So I want to share this from a point of view that isn't like woe is me, but I can get on this thing and give you a woe is me story for sure. But it's not gonna convey really. It's gonna be like, oh, go cry in your $100 bills, So I want to talk about it from a learning perspective. So how do you undergo a massive amount of pressure? So in the beginning, I go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. I would have meetings with my friends or a setup to do something with my friends a few times a week. I go to the movies. I got a dog that I would go walk my dog. I get into books or I get into educational or motivational shows or YouTubes or whatever to learn so I can constantly be learning because a lot of times people have gone through what you're going through and there's resources out there. So what I figured is when I get under a lot of pressure, I can get overwhelmed. And that threshold has gone up over time. What causes me to get overwhelmed has gone up. Like, having a $10,000 issue, I don't really give a. But in the beginning, that was a big deal for me, and it might be a big deal for you, and I understand that. But my threshold has gone up, and basically how I've done that is I've treated them all like lessons where, okay, what's the lesson here that I can learn so I don't do this again? So when it pops up, I'm like, oh yeah, I've handled that before. Whatever, it's no big deal. And these things keep coming at you. So how do I remain calm under pressure? When you're running a business, running an organization of people, 2, 5, 10, 50 plus, 100, 200, they look to you as the leader. Now, am I always calm? No, I'm not always calm. Do I present as calm? Yeah, for sure. Because I understand that they feed off my energy. So when a product goes out of stock or there's an issue or a client gets mad or any variety of problems, I need to be the calmness in the storm because storms are going to happen and they look to me as a leader. So you know how that saying, heavy is the head that wears the crown? Yeah, my head's pretty heavy, but I understand that I have an amazing team and I have an amazing network of people that look to me or look up to me and they want to see how I would act. And sometimes, I'm going to be honest, a lot of it is putting one foot in front of the other and figuring it out as you go. 100%. We're human beings. We don't know what we're doing. But I can tell you this, I can walk through a storm with my head held high because I know I'm going to get past it. Because take it from me, you will get past the storm. So freaking out or getting unmotivated or crying, it's just going to delay what is inevitable, which you have to walk past the storm. And it's okay to sometimes. There's some days where I'll lay on my couch for an hour and be like, fuck. But again, I need to remain calm. I need to be motivational. And so when a situation is presented to me, I'll look at the facts, I'll look at all the issues and say, okay, what is the solution here? And what I call that is solution-based thinking. How are we going to present solution-based thinking in our organization, in our business, for our managers, for our staff? So when we're presented with a problem, we always talk about solutions, because I guarantee you for every problem, every challenge you're facing, there is a solution. So for me to remain calm under the pressure, I like to think about the solution. And it's not always a solution that can happen in this moment. Sometimes it's a week, 2-3 weeks down, but I have the solution in my mind. I know that it's coming, and that's what I'm gonna work towards, and it keeps me relatively calm. Look around at our younger generation. I'm talking like, early 20s to early 30s. People are so unmotivated today. And I'm talking about the general consensus of people. And how do I know this? Because I run multiple businesses and I have to hire. And the pool of people looking for jobs, like in America, is nuts. Like, people are so entitled, they want to do little to nothing. And I get it, like, life is short. Their whole view most of the time is I want to travel and like make sure I enjoy my life. Respect, I get it. But if you're watching this video and you want to be successful, the threshold for success, how to get there, is so low. Like, when I started 12, 13 years ago, even back then, having the type of resources compared to today, you have AI, you have a bunch of people on YouTube, you have all these different social media platforms, you have all these guys that are putting out these videos on how to build a business and what to do. And so literally, like, it's all at your fingertips. So what's the missing ingredient? The missing ingredient is, I'm tired. I don't know if it'll work. I can't do it. Any variety of story, excuse you tell yourself that, look, does my head tell me that sometimes too? For sure. I'm a human being. Like, I have doubt. I get nervous when we launch a new product or a new company. Like, how's it going to be received? Am I going to be in the hole? Is it going to work? I've had tons of failures, but the difference is I don't let my head, the story that sometimes plays when it's hard, actually dictate my future and actually dictate my success. I let my actions dictate my success. And so how does that work? You have a question, you're overwhelmed, it's a lot to bite off. Start working on yourself now. Start building out your plan now. Start working on your trajectory now. And again, you've heard me say this a lot. If you're stuck at a dead-end job, go get a different job. I know it's scary. I get it. There's less security. I understand. I'm sitting here and, wow, that guy has a savings account. His house is paid off, yada, yada, yada. I get that there's differences between us, but there was a time in my life where I jumped from a job to a career and jumped from a career to building a business, and I took the leap and I took pay cuts along the way to eventually make more money. That's just kind of how it works, is you have to risk. So if you're not willing to take the risk, maybe you're not ready. But if you're watching this video, I like to think that you are. So rip the Band-Aid off and just get started, man. I'll tell you this. The competition out there isn't getting any harder. People don't want to work, man. So it's time for you to stop believing the story. Stop making excuses. Excuses are not your friend. Don't listen to your head. Don't listen to it. Make your plan. Okay. Put out your goals. Write out your goals. Watch some videos. Invest in yourself. Everything's online nowadays. And start doing your plan. If you're afraid to, walk away from your job right now, that's fine. Start doing things at night. Start doing things early morning. Give up your weekend. The thing that frustrates me the most is I gave up 5 years. 5 years of mild success. Mild. I was able to pay my bills. I was able to eat out every once in a while. I was able to have a nice apartment in a nice city. But I kind of disappeared for 5 years. I didn't have weekends. I mean, yes, like, it's important to go do some fun things. I get it. But, like, in general, I didn't have weekends. I didn't have Sundays. I didn't have Saturdays with the boys. I was working. I was fucking working. And now I look at all the people that I left in college or I left behind. They're doing the same things. They have their weekends, but they're stuck at where they're at. Me, I need to go pick up my kid from school right now. I can't. I don't have a boss to call. I can go do whatever the I want. And that is the difference, is I understood during those 5 years, probably where you're at, the point you're at, or maybe you're in the middle of those 5 years of darkness or building or whatever you want to call it, that the payoff was I can do whatever the I want and live a life that others can't live. So the question is, you look at a guy like me, do you want some of this? Then just go start and understand that weekends aren't important. Days off aren't important. Give all that up. You don't need balance. Go start working today.